David Gilmour is not a man who ever needed to shout to be heard. While rock music often rewarded excess volume and spectacle, Gilmour built his voice through restraint, patience, and emotional precision. He never chased controversy or dominated interviews, yet his presence became unmistakable the moment a single note left his guitar. In an age defined by ego and technical showmanship, he chose sincerity over speed and feeling over flash. His playing feels deliberate, almost conversational, as if each note has waited its turn to be spoken. The legendary solo in Comfortably Numb did not stun listeners with complexity, but with honesty, forcing time to slow and emotions to surface. Attention followed him not because he demanded it, but because authenticity is impossible to ignore. This is not a story about volume or bravado, but about how subtlety, empathy, and patience can echo longer than any scream. A childhood of observation and silence. David John Gilmour was born on March 6, 1946, in Cambridge, England, a city defined by intellect, scholarship, and quiet discipline. His father, Douglas Gilmour, was a respected university lecturer, while his mother, Sylvia, worked as a journalist and later taught film studies. On paper, his upbringing was stable and enriched, yet emotionally distant. Conversation in the household leaned toward ideas rather than feelings, leaving little space for a sensitive child to articulate inner thoughts. There was no overt hardship, but a persistent emotional quiet that shaped David's inward nature. He learned early to observe rather than speak, to listen rather than interrupt. That silence became formative rather than damaging, teaching him reflection, patience, and emotional self-reliance. Long before music entered his life, David learned how to sit with unspoken feelings, a skill that would later define his unique musical voice. Discovering music as a refuge. School years reinforced David's sense of being slightly removed from the world around him. He was not disruptive or rebellious, but neither was he driven by competition or academic recognition. Instead, he gravitated toward solitude, sketching, reading, and listening intently to records that transported him elsewhere. When his mother gifted him a guitar at the age of 10, something quietly shifted. With no formal lessons or expectations, he taught himself by ear, studying blues, early rock, and American folk music with patient dedication. Long hours alone with the instrument became transformative rather than lonely. Music gave him a language where words had failed, a way to translate emotion into sound without explanation or performance. Each chord became a safe place, each melody a private confession. What began as refuge slowly became identity, as David discovered that music allowed him not only to escape silence, but to shape it. Syd Barrett and a creative turning point. At art school in Cambridge, David Gilmour met Syd Barrett, a charismatic, imaginative force whose creativity seemed boundless. Their friendship formed through shared musical exploration, long improvisations, and conversations about sound as emotional experience rather than structure. Syd was impulsive, colorful, and unpredictable, while David was methodical, calm, and emotionally grounded. Their contrast created balance, and each learned from the other. When Barrett became the creative nucleus of Pink Floyd, David remained close, watching from the edges as his friend's brilliance began to unravel under pressure and excess. Eventually, as Barrett's mental health declined, David was invited into the band not as a replacement, but as support. This moment marked a profound transition, one rooted in loyalty rather than ambition. David stepped forward quietly, carrying both the responsibility of the music and the unspoken weight of preserving a friend's legacy, without erasing it. Becoming the emotional core of Pink Floyd, David Gilmour's early years with Pink Floyd were defined by patience rather than dominance. He did not attempt to control the band's direction or impose his identity overnight. Instead, he let the music evolve naturally, shaping tone, atmosphere, and emotional depth through careful listening. Albums like A Saucerful of Secrets and Metal revealed his growing influence, particularly in extended compositions such as Echoes, where space and silence became as important as sound. While critics initially viewed Pink Floyd as Syd Barrett's abandoned project, David remained focused on craft rather than recognition. He understood that leadership did not require volume or authority, only consistency and trust. Slowly, his guitar became the band's emotional anchor, capable of carrying vulnerability, tension, and release in a single sustained note. Without fanfare, he transformed Pink Floyd's identity into something deeper, more reflective, and enduring. Dark Side of the Moon and Subtle Greatness. When The Dark Side of the Moon emerged in 1973, it did not announce itself as a revolution, yet it quietly redefined what rock music could be. David Gilmour's guitar work was central to this transformation, translating abstract themes of time, mortality, and mental strain into sound that felt intimate and universal. He did not dominate the record with excessive solos. Instead, he he shaped atmosphere, emotion, and continuity. Every bend, delay, and sustained note felt intentional, measured, and deeply human. Success came gradually, growing through word of mouth rather than spectacle, mirroring Gilmour's own approach to art. As the album became one of the most influential records in history, David remained largely unchanged, still soft-spoken, still reserved. His contribution proved that emotional clarity, not technical excess, is what gives music its lasting power. The weight of conflict and creative distance. With success came internal strain, particularly between David Gilmour and Roger Waters, whose increasingly confrontational and conceptual vision clashed with Gilmour's instinctive, emotionally driven approach. Albums like Animals reflected this tension, blending biting social commentary with deeply expressive musical passages. Rather than engage in public conflict, Gilmour responded through sound, allowing his guitar to speak where words might fail. Tracks such as Dogs revealed layered emotional storytelling beneath the lyrical intensity, offering listeners space for reflection rather than instruction. The division was never explosive, but persistent, shaping the band's creative environment. Gilmour's restraint became both strength and burden as he worked to preserve musical balance amid growing discord. Even in disagreement, he remained committed to serving the music rather than the argument, demonstrating that integrity often reveals itself not in confrontation, but in consistency. Comfortably Numb and timeless expression. By the time The Wall was released in 1979, Pink Floyd stood at the height of ambition and internal division. While much attention focused on narrative and spectacle, it was David Gilmour's work on Comfortably Numb that etched itself permanently into musical history. The song's two guitar solos are not displays of speed or complexity, but emotional arcs that unfold with breathtaking clarity. Each phrase feels deliberate, suspended between longing and release, capturing vulnerability in a way few words could. Gilmour approached the piece with the same philosophy that guided his career: serve the emotion, not the ego. In doing so, he created one of rock's most enduring moments, a reminder that music's true power lies not in how much is played, but in what is felt. The solo remains timeless because it speaks directly to the human experience, legacy of stillness and integrity. After Roger Waters' departure, David Gilmour quietly guided Pink Floyd forward, refusing to let bitterness define the band's future. Albums like The Division Bell reflected introspection, memory, and reconciliation, rather than confrontation. Beyond the band, his solo work revealed a man deeply reflective, grounded in family, and committed to authenticity. His partnership with Polly Samson added lyrical intimacy, allowing him to explore life, aging, and connection with rare honesty. Offstage, his actions echoed his music, from charitable work to deliberate privacy. David Gilmour's legacy is not built on dominance or volume, but on emotional truth and restraint. He showed that silence can carry meaning, that patience can outlast noise, and that sincerity never fades. In a world drawn to spectacle, Gilmour remains proof that depth, integrity, and quiet beauty endure far longer than applause.